I find for myself is that I always go out and people have an idea of what they want, if it's a townhouse or a walkout bungalow or maybe it's a condo, right? I do find that a lot of people have that they're not certain on what they want at the end of the day, right? Until they actually go out and see some things, right? And just because you were saying is that huge lifestyle adjustment, and to make that adjustment from a big two-story with a big yard and then move into a condo isn't almost what people are looking for, right? So
Really.
yeah.
Like, I mean, we helped our parents do this. I mean, we helped our grandma do this when she moved from her place into Caleb. And these moves are never easy. So when we look at it, what experience have we had with family? And we take that into consideration so that how we help people, right? Because it's like
How we deal with it.
how we deal with it. Because the thing is, like, even somebody that has lived in their house for 38 years, the amount of stuff that they've usually collected that they love and that for them is super valuable, they're moving to a property that usually they can't take it all. So sometimes it might take 2 to 6 months to even kind of go through the property and declutter to try to donate, either donate, sell, recycle, or throw away,
Yeah.
or put in the pile that you're taking to your next property if that furniture even fits.
Right.
Right? And so we find that this is a journey that we're leading people through, and it just takes time. Welcome to our Bamford & Co. podcast, Beyond the Keys. I'm here joined with my brother Ryan today, and we're going to be talking about downsizing, which we call right-sizing. And can you give me a little bit of a breakdown? Because, I mean, what I explained there, people might not understand. So
Yeah, fair enough. Well, downsizing is a common term that I think that the majority of people are going to, connect with. But the big thing is that it's not always, it's like we were talking about before in some of our other podcasts, it's about lifestyle. So it's not always about the square footage. A lot of times it's about the style of the home. Maybe if it's moving from a two-story to a bungalow, sometimes having those, maybe it's a 1,600 square foot two-story and you're moving to 1,100 square foot bungalow and you actually have more space, but you're only going to live upstairs and still have maybe the basement for family, friends, or guests, So a lot of it's looking at the lifestyle and then also what kind of maintenance that are done on the property. So if you're moving into something that's a condo where everything's done for you, a gated community, or maybe you're hiring something out into doing a bungalow in a more mature neighborhood, right? So those are kind of a lot of the differences right off the bat. Greg, do you have some more things to add on that?
yeah, it's interesting. I mean, there's three reasons why people decide to move out of their property that usually they've been there in for a long period of time, right? Like, I mean, we've been helping out people that have been there for 31, 38 years, 42 years, and so forth. And so it's a big move emotionally
Right.
for them. But a lot of times the reason that they're moving is upkeep on the property. So a lot of times when they go to upgrade things, they're not going to get their money back. So if you're going to do shingles or if you do windows or a furnace, you're not getting a lot of that money back. You might get 20 to 40 cents back on the dollar on those things. So it's better off left to somebody else. Mobility. Mobility is something that, I mean, affects everybody. And usually it becomes too late if you don't do it enough in advance, right? And I think a lot of times people right now are thinking about doing it because they're thinking about their mobility, but they're not doing it fast enough, right? But the problem is, one of the statistics that I looked at the other day was that 40%, 46% of the people that are buying and selling right now are the baby boomers. So it's looking at their retirement, and if it's moving in off the farm or small towns into Saskatoon or moving out of that two-story, I think we're seeing more people probably, and this would be an interesting number if we could actually grab it, more people retiring and moving into the city and buying these bungalow townhouses than the ones that are in Saskatoon right-sizing because they still think they have time. But
Right.
the problem is that those price points keep on going up so much on those bungalow townhouses and those gated communities that it's starting to price people out of the market in Saskatoon that have those two stories that are dated, right? And I mean, a lot of these properties are in gorgeous neighborhoods, established, great properties. It's just there's a lot of money that needs to go into them if there's some upkeep that needs to be had, right? So, for example, cedar shingles or so forth, right? They only last a certain amount of time. What are you going to replace with them, right?
Well, just like, you go into Lakeview or Lake Ridge and you got, all the cedar siding and all those kind of things. Like I walked through with a couple the other day and I said, you're probably looking at 350,000 to be able to kind of do some of those updating to make it updated, right? And
Right.
and I said that was mostly inside. I was doing shingles, I was cedar shakes, that was also doing some siding and that kind of stuff, but maybe not the most high end, finishes that we were kind of looking at that price point. So when we're talking about, the increase in what a lot of people are having a hard time with is that's the renovation costs,
Right.
right? Now, when it comes down to right sizing, what I find for myself is that I always go out and people have an idea of what they want, if it's a townhouse or a walkout bungalow or maybe it's a condo, right? I do find that a lot of people have that. They're not certain on what they want at the end of the day, right? Until they actually go out and see some things, right? And just because you were saying is that huge lifestyle adjustment, and to make that adjustment from a big 2-story with a big yard and then move into a condo isn't always what people are looking for, right?
So it's really hard.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we helped our parents do this. I mean, we helped our grandma do this when she moved from her place into Caleb, and these moves are never easy. So when we look at it, what experience have we had with family, and we take that into consideration so that how we help people, right? Because it's like
how we deal with it.
We deal with it. Because the thing is, like, even somebody that has lived in their house for 38 years, the amount of stuff that they've usually collected that they love and that for them is super valuable, they're moving to a property that usually they can't take it all. So sometimes it might take 2 to 6 months to even kind of go through the property and declutter to try to donate, either donate, sell, recycle, or throw away, or put in the pile that you're taking to your next property if that furniture even fits. Right? And so we find that this is a journey that we're leading people through, and it just takes time, right? But you are right about going to see properties. So like when people are historically doing the decluttering and getting their property ready for sale, it's also like education day. You're taking them to properties, letting them see a condo, seeing if they can see themselves in it. They might have to see a couple different developments. Then it's a bungalow townhouse. Then it's other things. And depending on where you're at, I do believe the bungalow townhouse is probably the best choice for an investment side of things, right? Like, I mean, if you look at kind of even with our parents, I mean, for the amount of money that they got onto that property or even their development, I mean, from 2 years ago, I think that their average price in that development probably went up probably about 100,000.
Yeah, maybe a little more.
Maybe a little more, just comparing. But at the same time, a lot of them don't come to market, right? So we don't like, once somebody jumps in them, they're going to be in them hopefully 10 to 15 years, right? So there's only a certain amount of these that are turning over, and there isn't enough for the demand of the people that are coming in.
Yeah. You mentioned a little bit about, it's a process for people. And a lot of times this isn't happening, it might take 3 to 6 months to declutter, but at the same time is that a lot of these conversations, sometimes I have people that phoned me the other day and it was almost 10 years that they were kind of and they're finally ready to make that move, but it's a lifestyle move. It's a daunting thing to be able to go through all the, your life in that home, and to downsize and to do those can get rid of things. One thing to keep in mind is that we do have a full team that helps us in all this aspect. So we can take a lot of that stress right out of it. If it's from Natasha, from organizing and packing and to do that kind of stuff, they will even actually, donate things, ship them off to maybe some of the kids that maybe want some of the belongings, those kind of things. And then once we kind of do some of that decluttering, is that we also have a team that comes in and does some interior design work. And then also sometimes it's painting, getting things so we can actually market this to the 80% out there. So even though it is a big process and it's a big life move, is that we do have all of our ducks in a row. We've done this multiple times. We talk about our parents. I think that's a little bit more of the personal side of things, but we also have, I know that I've did it for 4 or 5 families last year, right? And working on some this year as well too, right? So I think that's the big thing, is that we do have our ducks in a row and we have the right people to be able to make this as stress-free as possible.
It helps people be able to understand what they need to do with their personal belongings, right? And someone helping you do that, helping you, like, I guess, what would it
guidance,
be?
Just like
it's giving guidance, but it's like maybe letting go of things,
Yeah.
right? And kind of like helping you strategize it and creating a process and so forth so you to be able to do that, I think makes a big difference, right?
For sure.
And I know that we've had families that have used Natasha and then used Amy for staging, and then Natasha then actually helped them move into their
Unpack.
next property,
Yeah.
unpack, and then set up their property to make it so that it looks the best that
And
it can as well
organized
too, and
and-
organized and so forth. And which a lot of times that takes off a lot of stress on people, right? And
sure.
and a lot of stress off the kids, because at the same time, like, I mean, working with your parents and trying to, as they're trying to give you everything that you might not seem as valuable as what they think it is,
Fair, yeah.
it's a hard decision for everybody,
Yeah.
right? And you don't want to like hurt their feelings.
It's like
and
I'll
so
store it at
forth.
my house for now. But
Yeah, exactly. Like, and it then says in your garage for another 10 years, right? But I think those are big things that, like, we're here to lead you through the journey of doing this, and it doesn't have to happen immediately, and we're meeting people where they're at and within their timelines, right? And it's also then if their kids want to get involved or their grandkids, it's like we're there to support the whole family throughout this process, because again, it's like we know what it's like, right? And I mean, we care.
For sure.
Yeah. So when, I guess if you need help in what your next stage of life is and different options and where you should be moving and what your property's worth, I think there's a couple things we start with. One is we start with coming, seeing your property, doing an evaluation.
Mm-hmm.
Then we'll sit down with you and figure out what your future plans are. So at least then you have a starting point of where you know your property's worth. And then you can figure out, okay, what's best for me, right? Because sometimes you might not have enough money to be able to buy what you want to buy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so then we'll kind of lead you through that journey and then help everybody make the decision that's best for them, and then figure that out as we go. And for that, I mean, there's never a better time than right now to be able to start that, because that gives you all the information that you can at least start sinking in. And for some people, they just need time, right? And I think that you don't have as much time as you possibly can if you want those bungalow townhouses, because the prices keep on going up. And that's not to push into a fear of what prices are, but I mean, it's a reality, right? Like we've seen a major increase in the last couple of years.
Well, and just like we were talking about, it depends on what you're moving from, right? Like, because if it is something that's maybe it's a larger bungalow that you're downsizing or right sizing, but maybe it is downsizing a little bit in the square footage side of things, you might be able to hold on to that a little bit more if it's the right location, the right square footage, that kind of stuff. But maybe if it is that 2-story, is you're creating more of a gap in the next 6 months or 2 years or whatever that process is going to be.
So we want to thank you for joining in. If you have any questions, we're happy to answer them. Reach out to Ryan or I, either through our website, also on our Google page, and we can happily lead you through the process of going through this, because we can take a lot of the stress away from it and make it so that it actually feels fun. I had some awesome clients that were 91 and 93 that moved out of a property in Newtana, and they actually said, like, it was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun. And the thing is, like, we help people get to where they need to do and get them as much money as they can as well, right? And so we're there throughout the whole process and making sure that you're supported. So thanks for joining us. Reach out if you need help. We're here for you.